Tonight,
the Taliban will use whatever means they have, including the people of Afghanistan, to shield their capability.
civilians caught in the crossfire. Exclusive video into NBC News of the Children's Hospital in Kabul. Also, a showdown between Israelis and Palestinians. Will war in the streets there affect the global war on terror? And as humanitarian aid drops from the sky, the report from above, from those flying the planes. We're taking you on the mission. Plus, meet a man from Afghanistan arrested in America on the day the Twin Towers fell. Why a bizarre coincidence led police to believe they may have found one of Osama's men. And see what it's like to be under attack. The view from the ground is coming up. I'm Ashley Banfield in Islamabad, Pakistan, part of a region in conflict.
I'm Martin Fletcher in Tel Aviv, where Israel is in a head-to-head confrontation with the United States.
I'm Tom Aspel, 40 miles north of Kabul. We've been looking at Afghanistan's caves and tunnels, possibly the hiding place of Osama bin Laden and his al-Qaeda network.
I'm Jane Peterson in London. Britain's expected to send about 1,000 troops to Afghanistan. Tonight, we'll tell you about those soldiers, including the secret SAS.
I'm Kerry Sanders in Afghanistan. In both Taliban and Northern Alliance-controlled areas, there's one group we rarely hear from, women. Tonight, one woman lowers her veil and talks about the future of her country. I'll have that story coming up next.
Hello, everyone, and welcome live from Islamabad. I'm Ashley Banfield reporting. It is 7 o'clock in the morning, Wednesday morning, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, Tuesday night in America. As America and the coalition forces change their sights, target Taliban on the front lines with the Northern Alliance. This as the Northern Alliance looks to America and the coalition for help in making their advanced moves on main cities in Afghanistan. But America also admitting today that some of its moves have been mistakes. Bombs have dropped where they should not have dropped. Civilian casualties, as they've always said, could happen and have happened. That and also Britain saying perhaps SAS troops, secret troops, elite troops may be lending a hand to the U.S. special operations inside Afghanistan. But there is another story also brewing stateside, and that is the anthrax scare. It claims 2 more victims, and the scare widens, really hitting home for the White House. With more on that, back at MSNBC World Headquarters, Lester Holt standing by. Lester.
Ashley, thank you. It is the invisible biological agent contaminating mail, making people deathly ill, and now it's been found in the White House's off-site mailroom. Officials confirm a small amount of anthrax was found at a mail facility that handles all the mail delivered to the White House. We want to stress here this mail processing center is not within the White House grounds. In fact, it's on a military base miles away from it. Anthrax was found during a bio-sweep of the room. Regardless, the president says he's not afraid to work at the White House and address who might be behind this biological attack.
We don't have any hard evidence, but there's no question that anybody who would mail anthrax with the attempt to harm American citizens is a terrorist. And there's no question that al-Qaeda is a terrorist organization, so it wouldn't put it past me that they're, it wouldn't surprise me that they're involved with this. But I have no direct evidence. I do know that that this country is strong enough to endure the evil ones.
In the wake of the latest anthrax cases, the government is taking more steps to prepare for a nationwide bioterror attack. Health and Human Services Secretary Tommy Thompson says supplies of both anthrax and smallpox vaccines are being increased. He also promises more aggressive measures to protect postal workers across the country, such as beefing up security at post offices. President Bush has authorized spending $175 million immediately for the improvement of post office security. And finally today, tests confirming the 2 employees of D.C.'s main postal facility died of inhalation anthrax. 2 other employees are seriously ill. They are hospitalized, receiving antibiotic treatment. All other workers at this Brentwood facility are being tested for exposure to anthrax. Washington's top health officer reports another 4 people are being treated for suspicious symptoms associated with anthrax, while another 12 cases are being reviewed with what they call low suspicion. We'll continue to follow that angle of the story. In the meantime, let's send you back to Islamabad now, and Ashley.
All right, Lester, thanks very much. Back here in Islamabad, the story from the Americans has always been there could be collateral damage, and proof positive there has been collateral damage. The Pentagon fessing up. Bombs have gone where they shouldn't have gone. But as bad as the casualties are, as the Taliban claims the casualties are, is the Taliban putting innocent civilians directly in harm's way, making them human shields in this war on terror? NBC's Jim Miklaszewski now from the Pentagon.
Ashley, no military operation goes exactly as planned, and this one is no exception. For the 3rd straight day, American warplanes attacked Taliban front lines in northern Afghanistan. But the bombing is limited, not nearly enough to take out the Taliban forces that vastly outnumber Afghan rebels. They remain frozen in place, unable to advance. Instead, most airstrikes are aimed at Taliban territory in the south, where today bombs destroyed a military fuel convoy outside Kandahar. Gun camera video shows one bomb glancing off an armored vehicle, then a second hits home. But the Pentagon also admits today there have been some costly mistakes. Over the past few days, 2 errant bombs were dropped in a residential neighborhood outside Kabul, and a 1,000-pound bomb landed next to a senior citizen home in Herat. But the Pentagon disputes Taliban claims that hundreds were killed.
I dare say just about everything we've heard for the last few weeks has been wrong and outright lies.
The Pentagon also claims the Taliban is using civilians as human shields, positioning some of its weapons in civilian neighborhoods and next to religious mosques.
The Taliban will use whatever means they have, including the people of Afghanistan, to shield their capability.
At the same time, the Taliban claims it shot down a U.S. helicopter and has the wheels to prove it. But the Pentagon says during the weekend raid near Kandahar, a Special Forces helicopter lost the wheels when it clipped a barrier on the ground, but that the helicopter returned safely to base. Another helicopter came under small arms fire while trying to refuel in Pakistan. The chopper returned fire and left the area. No Americans were hurt. And there's no indication tonight the U.S. is any closer to its ultimate target, Osama bin Laden. In fact, the Pentagon is now seeking help from the very Taliban troops they're bombing. The latest propaganda leaflets being dropped on those troops advise to end the bombing, drive the foreign terrorists out of Afghanistan. Ashley?
Jim Miklaszewski reporting from the Pentagon for us. Thank you. And as Jim mentioned, those costly mistakes make for some very ugly pictures. We are now seeing some of these pictures directly out of Kabul. And while some of these pictures you may think would make Afghans dig in against America, they are also having another effect. As NBC's Ron Allen reports from here in Islamabad, they are also making Osama bin Laden perhaps share the blame.
Ashley, Afghanistan's Taliban leaders are still not allowing foreign journalists into their country to see what's happening as a result of the U.S. bombing raids. But with the help of a local journalist, NBC News has obtained some exclusive pictures of conditions inside Kabul. While the United States continues to insist it's still targeting military installations, the attacks apparently are taking quite a heavy toll on the civilian population as well.
In a Kabul hospital, doctors failed to save another life. A man killed, his distraught son says, by shrapnel from an American bomb. These exclusive pictures obtained by NBC News, shot with a home video camera, show desperate conditions inside the capital, where hospitals have only a few hours of electricity each day, no blood in the blood banks, and little medicine as some wards fill with young victims. Doctors literally tied this child into a bed to restrain him. They have no painkillers. We try to buy medicines in the market, she says. The hospital doesn't have any. Danish, an Afghan journalist who we met across the border in Pakistan, took the pictures during the past 4 days. He says the Taliban's only restriction was that he not show any military activity. Initially, people thought only the Taliban would be targeted, he says, but now a lot of civilian areas are being hit as well. His pictures show widespread devastation in some neighborhoods, especially those close to the airport, a frequent U.S. target. Parts of the capital remain untouched, the central market crowded, but merchants say business is bad. Prices for essential goods rising, up 30%. This family says they must survive on only tea and bread. In another neighborhood, it looks like an earthquake hit. Huge cracks splitting these walls. People moving all their possessions outside in case their homes collapse. Everywhere, people say they hate America, but many also now blame Osama bin Laden. Most people think he has brought them a lot of problems, he says, and he should leave. And while some take the first steps toward rebuilding houses made of mud, thousands of people load whatever they can find and flee the capital, hoping to find safety in rural areas away from the bombing.
Those pictures only begin to tell the story of what's happening inside Kabul, conditions that could only get worse if the U.S. air raids continue as winter approaches in the coming weeks. The Taliban continues to insist that they have no intention of handing over Osama bin Laden, so the standoff goes on. Ashley?
NBC's Ron Allen reporting for us from Islamabad also. Last night on this program, we introduced you to a man by the name of Abdul Wahab. He is an Afghan living in Pakistan. He runs the Afghan Media Resource Center Photo Archive. When we spoke with him, he told us an incredible story of a recent visit to America. Just so happened he was trying to leave America on September the 11th. He was boarding a flight when tragedy struck in neighboring New York City. He'd been at Newark Airport when his flight was canceled. Trying to gather information, he left that airport knowing that he wouldn't be leaving for several days. That's when he realized he himself was going to be in trouble. An Afghan man in America with allegations that Osama bin Laden and perhaps other Afghan terrorists might be behind this attack on America. It started within hours of leaving the airport. People were throwing insults at him, yelling profanities from passing cars, children throwing stones at him on the sidewalk. It culminated with an arrest. He'd been stopped for speeding. The police asked him for his passport, asked him why he was going to the airport, trying to regain access to a flight 2 days later. When they saw where he was from, they noticed his name. A remarkable coincidence. They said he shared a name and a birth date with someone they said was one of Osama bin Laden's chief deputies. He was arrested on the spot, roadside. Here is Abdul Wahab talking about this incident.
He asked me to come down. When I came down, he asked me, please turn off your face and raise your hand. And they checked my pocket and my body. Then he told me to turn your hand in back of you. I did. And they put some handcuffs in my hands in back of me and asked me to sitting in this car. When I sit in this car, they took us for more than 20 minutes to the police station.
What happened when you walked into that police station?
I saw many policemen there. They were looking to me very seriously, like they thought that I am the one that I did this action.
Abdul Wahab, 12 hours in detention. At the time, he felt he might be beaten. At the time, he felt he may not leave detention for several months. He compares it to what he might have experienced inside Afghanistan. Coming up later in the program, Mr. Wahab will detail for us exactly what happened in New Jersey detention and how a key member of the FBI may have saved his life. Coming up, Israel digs in and defies one of its major allies. The story of what's happening on the streets and how that might affect what's happening overseas. And also, the labyrinth of caves inside Afghanistan. Will they provide the much-needed shelter Osama bin Laden hopes he can find? Are they shelter of dust and cover? That story also coming up.
Pakistan, Israel, Iraq, Egypt, Washington, D.C. Worldwide resources, the latest technology. technology, the most experienced team. Exclusive investigations, groundbreaking documentaries, the whole picture, 24 hours a day. MSNBC.
Over the years, we've gathered some of the brightest stars in insurance and investments, plus some of the brightest stars in securities brokerage and financial services. And we put them all together into one extraordinary company. Today, that company has a proud new name, Prudential Financial, growing and protecting your wealth.
Your pet's exact same heartworm and flea medications delivered to your door for less than you're paying now.
It costs less than buying from my veterinarian.
Took less than 5 minutes to order. You don't have to make an appointment. You don't have to miss work. Now I call PetMeds and get my pet's heartworm medication delivered right to my door.
The exact same flea and tick medications you get from your vet.
Only they're cheaper.
1-888-PET-MEDS. We deliver savings and convenience on HeartGuard, Advantage, Frontline, and all other pet medications. Call to order now or order online.
Sunday on a special MSNBC National Geographic Explorer. They say they fight for the sake of Allah. This is jihad, a holy war against the accused enemies of Islam. Martyrs are encouraged. Violence is inevitable. How do you battle an extremist who lives to kill and is prepared to die? What Americans need to know about jihad, Afghanistan's holy war. Sunday at 8 on MSNBC.
We don't look upon the Palestinians as enemies. We are not trying to occupy them or control them. On the contrary, we wish that they will control their own people, and there will be no need for us to intervene. And you know, I learned on many occasions, when you reach the height of a crisis, we also discover the proximity of the solution.
Israeli Foreign Minister Shimon Peres, after meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Colin Powell, he was on his way to the White House for a meeting with the National Security Advisor Condoleezza Rice. This as Israeli tanks stand pat in 6 Palestinian territory towns. NBC's Martin Fletcher now in Tel Aviv on a crisis that is escalating.
Actually, Israel's in a head-on confrontation with the United States, a position it has always feared. The U.S. administration yesterday called sharply on Israel to leave the Palestinian lands as reoccupied and never go back. Israel's answer was short and just as sharp, no. In a statement, an Israeli government spokesman said Israel will only pull out, quote, after the goals of its military operation are achieved. So Israeli tanks and troops continue to occupy parts of 6 Palestinian towns on the West Bank. And there's been sporadic shooting there all day. Israel's chief of staff said that in the 6 days they've been carrying out this operation, the largest ever against the Palestinian Authority of Yasser Arafat, soldiers have killed 20 gunmen and arrested another 20. And also, Israel admitted responsibility for a car bomb yesterday, which killed the _1 man on its most wanted list in the West Bank. He was one of the military leaders of the Islamic militants Hamas, and Israel accused him, of masterminding several of the worst terrorist attacks against Israel this year. He was driving a new car when it exploded, killing him and wounding a passenger. In turn, Hamas has promised revenge. And now, back to you, Ashley.
NBC's Martin Fletcher reporting from Tel Aviv. Here in this part of Central South Asia, the bombs may be dropping, but so is the humanitarian aid. Now, for the first time, we are going to take you after the break on one of these humanitarian missions, the view from inside the cargo plane as that precious cargo goes out the back. Dr. Bob Arnott is coming up next.
Watch this boring, flat, limp hair go from this to fuller, thicker, voluminous-looking hair that anyone can do just like that. Introducing the revolutionary new Tap Teaser. The Tap Teaser's unique double-hooked teeth give you double the volume. Every time you tap, teeth lift and feather, building layer upon layer upon layer of full, beautiful, tangle-free hair. With the Tap Teaser, go from flat to a look like this, just like that. Tap, 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 bangs get bounce. Tap, 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 sides get volume. Tap, 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 fills in thin spots just like that. Anyone can tap tease. Just hold hair out and tap lightly. With each tap, unique double-hooked teeth double the volume for mounds of thick, beautiful hair. Short, long, straight, thin. You could spend $30 at a professional salon to get these looks. Tap, 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 flat gets fat. Woo! Tap, 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 soft gets spiky. Tap, 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 9 to 5 comes alive at night. Just tap, 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 and double the volume.
Ooh, baby.
Created by a professional hairstylist, the Tap Teaser comes in 2 sizes. Fine Point gives a lighter, more feathered look. Medium creates thicker, chunkier layers. Between the two, you can experiment with a whole new you. Hey, don't rat, rant, and rave over flat, thin hair. Get a fabulous new look just like that. Now get that $30 salon look in less than 60 seconds for $12.95. You get the entire Tap Teaser set, 2 different styling tools, this easy-to-use styling guide with valuable tips and new hairstyles. Call to order your Tap Teaser today.
Have your credit card or personal check ready and call 1-800-578-7373 to order. That's 1-800-578-7373. Call 1-800-578-7373. That's 1-800-578-7373.
The view from the back of a C-130, the cargo Precious HDR's humanitarian daily rations as they head out the back, down below, parachuting to Afghanistan. To the starving people below, the refugees, perhaps those on the run, who are affected not only by war but also by years of drought. It takes between 14 and 18 hours to run these humanitarian flights from Ramstein Air Force Base over here to Afghanistan. And the people who take part in these are rarely heard from. Dr. Bob Arnott of NBC News had a chance to go along on one of these missions. He takes you now in the view from the sky.
About 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon, we left Ramstein Air Base here in Germany for Afghanistan. This was aboard a C-17 Air Force cargo plane from Charleston, South Carolina. Now, this is a very, very unusual flight undertaken by the Air Mobility Command. It requires 14 to 18 hours in the air, 2 aerial refuelings, and as it comes up on enemy territory, there's an hour and a half where the entire crew has to be hooked up to oxygen masks. Then about 20 minutes before the drop, the back of the airplane is opened up, and the entire plane is depressurized, and that puts the crew at risk for hypoxia, not enough oxygen to the brain, and for a severe decompression illness, where nitrogen bubbles can actually form in different parts of the body, and in its most severe form, actually cause stroke. Now, there are physiologists aboard the plane who very carefully monitor the crew for any of the early signs of these syndromes. Over the drop zone, there, of course, is the risk of anti-aircraft fire, heat-seeking missiles. Fortunately, last night, we were over a clouded area, so that risk was diminished. Now, this is a very, very special airdrop. Ordinarily, airdrops are done at low altitude out of slow-moving propeller airplanes such as C-130s. This is an extremely high altitude. The actual altitude is classified, but it's well over 20,000 feet. Now, at this particular altitude, you would expect it to be hard to direct where the meals go. But this is almost like a precision-guided cardboard box, in that when it falls out of the airplane, the currents, the wind currents, the speed of the airplane are all very carefully calculated. And then the meals, as they break out of the boxes and fall to the ground, fall almost like piñatas, where they twirl down so that they're unlikely to hit anybody if they then fall on the ground in a populated area. Now, the Air Force has been extremely careful to make certain that these are not going to areas where there's landmines or into densely populated areas, but close enough to densely populated areas so the population can then come out and get the food. Now, on the way back, there was some real difficulty in terms of the aerial refueling. Remember, these pilots have been up maybe 18, 20 hours at this point, and the boom kept detaching because of a technical flaw in the tanker. But the pilots tried again and again and successfully did rejoin and were able to get enough fuel to come back here to Germany. Because of fog at Ramstein, they were unable to land there, but did land here in Frankfurt.
NBC's Bob Arnott reporting for us on the humanitarian efforts from the skies. Also coming from the skies, the bombs. What does the attack look like from down below? Some exclusive pictures of just how daunting those attacks can be. And also coming up, the British are coming. Or are they? The elite SAS. An inside look at troops that may be joining the U.S. Special Ops. After the break, live from Islamabad.
Tired of spending too much time chopping vegetables? Fed up with those complicated food processors? Wish you could spend more time dining and less time whining? Well, now you can. Introducing the Quick Chop, the fast and easy way to chop, mince, slice, and dice with just a tap. Look, place your favorite vegetable under the Quick Chop, give it a tap, and you've got finely shredded cabbage for delicious coleslaw. Tap again and chop carrots and celery in an instant for a tasty stir-fry. Or add potatoes for one-tap home fries the kids will love. Hey, garlic can be a pain to prepare, but not with the Quick Chop. You can even leave the peel on. Just give it a tap. Easily remove the peel, and you're left with fresh garlic, peeled, chopped, and ready to use. Amazing! Here's the magic. The second you tap down, 6 carbon steel blades slice your food perfectly. Then, as they retract, they cleverly rotate. So the next time you tap down, the blades chop in a completely different area. Just tap the Quick Chop for sliced onions on a burger. Tap again, and you've got diced onions, great for soups and stews. Tap again and enjoy finely minced onions with no tears, an ideal topping for chili. Quick Chop is faster than a knife and easier than a processor. And when you're done, just run it under the faucet. It's great for pecans, almonds, and walnuts, and even strong enough to crush ice. Call now and receive the amazing Quick Chop for only $19.99. But wait, there's more. We'll also include this amazing folding chopping board free. Use your Quick Chop right on top. Then fold the board and funnel your ingredients right into the pan with no mess and no waste. Yours free. And here's a super value. If you call right now, we'll double your order. You get a second Quick Chop and a second folding chopping board absolutely free. Together, they're a $60 value. All yours for only $19.99. Call now.
Call and order the amazing Quick Chop for $19.99, and as a special TV offer, we'll double your order while supplies last. So call 1-800-319-6464. That's 1-800-319-6464. Call now.
An act of war was declared on the United States of America.
We cannot be a people who walk around terrified. We're Americans. We don't walk around terrified.
On my orders, the United States military has begun strikes against al-Qaeda terrorist training camps and military installations of the Taliban regime in Afghanistan.
The forces we are calling upon are amongst the very best in the world.
We will not fail.
We Americans are going through a tragic time. We all have painful emotions following these hideous events. Here are some ways to get through this time of crisis. Please ask for help if you want it. Avoid repetitive viewing of the terrible images. And do something. Donate money, donate blood, volunteer. For more information, contact your local American Red Cross chapter or visit our website. Together, we can save a life. In harm's way, a rare and ominous look at what it's like to be on the receiving end of the U.S. assault from the sky. Also, inside the sophisticated caves of the terrorist network. Behind the veil, what it's like to be a woman in a world where women are almost invisible. And America's secret weapons. Very secret, and not even from America. The British SAS joining in the fight as our look at a region in conflict continues. Welcome back live to Islam. Islamabad, I'm Ashley Banfield reporting. It is the 7th day of bombings, and the morning papers show some of the evidence to the people of Pakistan. Take a look at this. This is an Afghan refugee makeshift camp in northern Afghanistan. 2 children crouching under a tattered tent. Also from the Pakistan Observer, this. U.S. allies continue day-night bombardment, and showing some of the wreckage here of a hospital, they say, in Kabul destroyed by air bombings. And the news with this headline here, 93 killed in U.S. bombing of Kandahar village. Jazeera, meaning Al Jazeera television. These are the kinds of images and words that inflame a lot of people in Pakistan who say those are our Muslim brethren who are being killed in Afghanistan. It's the kind of thing that turns a lot of people against this president and the U.S.-led coalition. In the meantime, inside Afghanistan, the bombings continue from the sky, but the target has changed to the Taliban front lines. As Julian Mannion reports from ITN, it is quite a sight to see when you're on the ground below those attacks.
High over the Taliban lines, a U.S. jet releases a small object that is a deadly bomb. Moments later, an explosion rocks the already ruined Bagram airbase. This was the 3rd straight day that the U.S. Air Force hit the Taliban front line north of Kabul. And this time, the attacks were more numerous and more punishing. The American planes are hitting targets on the south side of Bagram airfield. There is a village where about 500 Taliban, including Arab fighters, are said to be dug in. So far, we've seen at least 3 bombs fall in that area, and the planes are still circling overhead. The Taliban positions at Bagram are a tempting target that the U.S. Air Force ignored until this week. Alliance soldiers listening to the enemy's radio messages said that some of the Taliban were fleeing their trenches under the bombardment. Today's attacks seem designed to break up the Taliban lines in this strategic area, but Taliban guns fired back. Northern Alliance troops found themselves coming under fire from Taliban mortars hidden in the hills. The Alliance soldiers here got out of their dugout and withdrew. Earlier, Alliance reinforcements had to be sent to a section of the front where their troops were under heavy Taliban pressure. Since the frontline bombing started, the Alliance has actually lost several hundred yards of ground to the Taliban. But Alliance commanders welcome the airstrikes and are calling for more.
The attacks have had an effect on enemy morale and made their forces less coordinated. This can help us to advance.
But in spite of the airstrikes, an advance on Kabul could still be some way off. For now, the Alliance forces still seem too weak to attempt it. Julian Mannion, ITN, on the Northern Alliance front line near Kabul.
So many people watching this skirmish say that the front line really hasn't changed much for more than a month. Why is that? Possible, as some military analysts say, that while the Taliban is ready and willing to die for this cause, perhaps the Northern Alliance members aren't quite as willing to die. Here now some comments on this very issue from General Talat Massoud, a former general with the Pakistan Army who is now a military analyst.
Well, I think the Northern Alliance is placing a lot of reliance, very heavy reliance, on the American bombing, because it wants to have also the least casualties. Whereas one was expecting that if the Northern Alliance truly had, this was an opportune time for them to have moved forward. But after the loss of Massoud, their commander, I think their morale and their motivation may not be up to the level to undertake missions of this sort with the same amount of enthusiasm and also with that brilliance which they used to do in the past. So one should also realize that for Taliban, it's now a struggle for life and death.
Former Pakistan General Talat Massoud speaking about the situation facing down the Americans overhead and the Northern Alliance down below as they both face off against the Taliban. If George W. Bush, in saying he wants to smoke Osama bin Laden out from his cave, means what he says, then he may have quite an undertaking ahead of him. As Tom Aspel reports from northern Afghanistan, the series of caves that make up the topography of Afghanistan may seem like underground cities.
Afghanistan's rugged terrain, honeycombed with tunnels and caves, thousands of them, concentrated in the north, the Hindu Kush Mountains, canyons gouged out of limestone and soft rock by torrents of snowmelt, the mouths of these caves almost impossible to see. Another network in the arid southeast, Paktia, sandstone foothills laced with irrigation tunnels excavated over 1,000 years ago, used by Afghans to fight and hide from invaders like Genghis Khan and the Russians. Now, Osama bin Laden is believed to be hiding underground too.
Some of these caves are not just hiding holes, they're big enough to drive a vehicle inside, drop supplies in a chamber like that, and then just drive straight out again.
Ali Jalali, a former Afghan army colonel, remembers one assault on a huge cave complex by thousands of crack Russian troops in the 1980s.
That system was under attack for 57 days. And after 57 days, only ground action of several formations, divisions, succeeded to occupy these caves.
3 years ago, Pakistani journalist Hamid Mia was blindfolded and taken to meet bin Laden in one of his underground hideouts.
There was some carpets inside, some pillows, there was a bookshelf.
Some of bin Laden's caves are reported to be multi-storied, even generating their own electricity.
They're full of munitions, they have places to sleep. Some of them are steel-lined, and they're quite large affairs.
So how do American soldiers clear bin Laden and al-Qaeda from these caves? Today, the U.S. has sophisticated heat-seeking devices to help track enemies underground and establish targets.
It may well be that they would strike it with a 5,000-pound deep earth-penetrating bomb, very hard shell, go down 20, 30, 40, 50 meters.
But to target Osama bin Laden, the U.S. has to find him first. Intelligence agencies are even analyzing the geology of rock formations in recent al-Qaeda videos to determine his exact location, and working sources on the ground to try and close the net around him and his men. Tom Asnell, NBC News, Jabal Sarraj, Afghanistan.
Whether it's caves or whether it's out in the open, the United States-led coalition may be getting a helping hand from an elite force called the SAS. They are British troops, and they are rumored to be joining in this war against terror. As NBC's Jane Peterson reports, the winter may be on their side.
Ashley, Britain's expected to send about 1,000 British troops to Afghanistan in the near future, though defense officials here are still not publicly acknowledging that. Tonight, we'll tell you who they are. Hundreds of Royal Marine Commandos now training in Oman are on standby for deployment at very short notice. It's thought they'll soon board ships to wait for a specific call. Also waiting, an amphibious-ready group of ships and helicopters, as well as the parachute regiment. And most importantly, Britain's secret elite force, the SAF. Though the coming deployment has been widely reported in the press, UK officials still refuse to confirm it.
We are determined to assist the United States as effectively as we can, but we have made no decisions about how we might adjust our contribution.
SAS soldiers are reportedly in Afghanistan already, working with the Northern Alliance to pick targets, check minefields, gather intelligence. They are the cream of British Special Forces. Though rarely photographed, they're pictured here in 1980, storming the Iranian embassy in London, after Iranian dissidents took several embassy workers hostage. They work in small teams and know Afghanistan, helping to train Mujahideen fighters there in the 1980s. One former SAS trooper says the Taliban can be defeated, but getting bin Laden will be tough.
We've got to neutralize the threat, and bearing in mind that an animal is more dangerous when he's wounded.
When winter in Afghanistan begins, Carew says it may be actually easier to find bin Laden. Not only have British troops trained in harsh conditions, but their equipment can readily detect fires that bin Laden needs to survive. British officials say they're confident bin Laden will be found or surrendered. Meanwhile, the UK military is drawing up war plans for the long term. One Rear Admiral telling reporters he's planning to maintain levels of commitment for years. Ashley?
Jane Peterson reporting for us from London. You're looking at the traditional garb of an Afghan woman inside Afghanistan, the burqa. almost head-to-toe coverings with nothing but this mesh right here for your eyes. What's it like to live under this kind of a veil inside Afghanistan? Coming up after the break, a special report on exactly what it's like and why some are trying to change it. That's next, live from Islamabad.
Tale of adventure, forbidden romance.
My wife is none of your affair.
And one deadly treasure.
Are you implying they were killed? For what? The diamonds they found?
Billy Zane in Louis L'Amour's The Diamond of Giroux, a USA original movie. Premieres Tuesday, November 6th on USA.
If you want to laugh, get ready for the laugh fest of a lifetime. Introducing the Dean Martin Celebrity Roast, now available on home video.
What a night! Who are we honoring?
You'll see rare appearances by more than 100 of the most celebrated entertainers of all time. Frank Sinatra, Lucille Ball, Sammy Davis Jr., Muhammad Ali, and many, many more.
He kept promising he'd marry me. For years, I've had a hope chest.
I've seen your chest. There ain't no hope.
Frank's hobby was a most interesting one. He was an amateur gynecologist.
Wait a minute.
Call now, and you'll rediscover those classic days of the Rat Pack and Cool Cat Vegas style with the legendary Frank Sinatra roast. A full 100 minutes of non-stop entertainment, packed with jokes and laughter, all for just $19.95. Keep your Frank Sinatra roast. Then, about once every other month, we'll send you 2 new videos to add to your collection for the same low price. You can return any roast for a complete refund. There's no minimum to buy, and you can cancel at any time. And when you order in the next 5 minutes, we'll slash the price in half, making this full-length video just $9.95.
How sweet it is. I understand that Frank is going to Rome. He's going to speak to the Pope. He wants the Pope to make him a cardinal. And that way we'll only have to kiss his ring.
Call now and get the Frank Sinatra roast. A full 100 minutes of joke-packed entertainment at the rock-bottom price of just $9.95. Now that's a steal. But this offer is limited, so don't wait. Make that call right now.
You are looking at me through the perspective of an Afghan woman who wears the traditional blue burqa, called the shuttlecock mesh. Very difficult to see through, yet a must if a woman is to walk out her front door. As NBC's Carrie Sanders reports now from inside Afghanistan, there are those who are trying to change things for Afghan women, but they risk their lives in doing so.
Well, Ashley, as you know, there's one group we rarely hear from, women. But tonight, a woman lowers her veil, and she talks about the future of her country. Children playing together in Afghanistan, a simple game of jacks and hopscotch, just like other boys and girls around the world. But here, after a girl reaches puberty, tradition demands she cover up. The robe is called a burqa. It's a sign of womanhood. But to a small yet growing women's movement in this Islamic country, it is the symbol of inequality. The belief here among even the more liberal Northern Alliance, the Holy Quran demands women hide their faces and their skin. Women not allowed to leave their homes without permission, not allowed to hold jobs, not allowed to get an education, and not even allowed to read the Quran that so restricts their lives.
Very difficult because there is
people watching,
and people always watching in our house, and then after that it maybe will be problem for us.
34-year-old Farah Naz Nazir, a lone voice in a country where women are neither seen nor heard, giving birth to a women's movement. Unlike others, she doesn't cover her face. An electrical engineer who studied in the Ukraine, Nazir fled Afghanistan in 1996. 2 years ago, as the Taliban were gaining more control, she returned home to tell women life does not have to be like this.
We haven't any human rights. We haven't to go outside. We haven't rights to work. We haven't rights to take care about our children. We haven't rights to go even to the doctor in Taliban side. Because of that, it's like a jail.
March of this year, Farah Naz Nazir created the Afghan Women's Association, taking a bold step, quietly teaching about 100 women simple lessons about their bodies, about hygiene, about equality.
Typical of the stories that Farah Naz Nazir hears last week. A woman who told her she obtained a prized cup of sugar. She wanted to share it with her children, but her husband wanted to sell it. When she refused, he beat her, breaking her nose. Until now, those stories have rarely been shared with the outside world.
In a country where a man like this pays for his bride by giving her father 2 sheep, changing attitudes, a slow process. This boy says when the girls he plays with become women and disappear, he misses them, but doesn't question why they're gone.
I have to wear this because I want to, be respectful.
Foreign women, like 32-year-old Belgian journalist Pascal Bourgault, who question the rules here, quickly find themselves in trouble. She learned a difficult lesson this week, staring into an Afghan man's eyes. She raised her voice in anger. He branded her a terrorist. The Northern Alliance threatened to deport her until the Belgian government intervened. And now?
I will be really careful how I do my work, where, and with whom I talk.
It's the world where 10-year-old Vida lives. She's Farah Naz Nazir's daughter. When her male principal ordered all the schoolgirls to wear burqas, she said no.
Do you know what the word ghost is? Do you think they want, do they want you to be a ghost? What do they want you to be? Do they want to see you anymore? Or do they want to hide you?
They want that nobody see you.
The Northern Alliance Foreign Minister, Dr. Abdullah says first there must be peace, and then women will be given a role.
Women would be a part of the National Afghan Unity. They would be the part of the future government.
A bold statement in a part of the world where young Vida's mother hopes her daughter will someday be worth more than 2 sheep, where women will be both seen and heard.
Farah Naz Nazir says she named her daughter Vida because it means life, and her hope is that her daughter Vida has a different life than she has. Ashley?
Carrie Sanders reporting for us from inside Afghanistan. Coming up, imagine for a moment you are led through a police station in cuffs and shackles, and the officers there think you may be one of the key players in the World Trade Center bombing. That story coming up from Abdul Wahab as he recounts his day in detention.
From the morning 8 o'clock, they didn't talk to me until 4 o'clock. And they didn't touch me. Just they keep me in an office with tight feet and tight hands.
Hi, Anthony Sullivan here with a great new invention. It's called the Pro Trim Shielded Paint Roller. And if you've ever painted a room before, you know how long it takes to tape up and cut in with a small brush. The Pro Trim changes the way you paint. It's a self-guiding mini roller that does the hard work for you. Place the shield against the trim and the roller against the wall and let your woodwork be your guide. It's like a train on a railroad track. Right or left-handed, it gives you a clean, professional look, wall to wall. The clever design presses the paint to its finest point. No paint leaks underneath, and you get a straight edge every time. Here's how it works. Load the roller with the paint, adjust the spring-loaded arm with one hand, and let your woodwork be your guide. Use it up high on crown molding. Save time by painting around fixtures and fittings like light switch plates or lamps. It's great for windows and door frames too. It's small enough to paint furniture like bookshelves. By the time you were to tape this window up, you have it finished with Pro Trim. The Pro Trim is specially designed to fit into small areas like bathrooms. where it'll glide around mirrors, cabinets, and ceramic tile. When you remove the shield, getting into tight areas and feathering out rough spots for uniform texture is easy too. Because there's nap on the inside, it'll paint both sides of an inside corner, saving you time. Use it outside on lap siding and fencing. The Pro Trim works with oil, latex, or stains, and the rollers are refillable, replaceable, and rewashable. Even expensive electric rollers like this can't cut in like the Pro Trim. Call now and you'll get the Pro Trim for just $19.99. It comes complete with the paint tray and the instructional guide. But call in the next 5 minutes and we'll include 3 extra rollers, a $15 value, free. That means you get the ready-to-use Pro Trim, the paint tray, the guide, and 3 extra rollers, all for just $19.99. So call this number right now. Here's how to order.
Have your credit card ready and order the amazing ready-to-use Pro Trim kit for only $19.99. Order now and get 3 extra rollers. That's a $15 value. Yours free. Call 1-800-793-7733. Call now.
Sunday on a special MSNBC National Geographic Explorer. They say they fight for the sake of Allah. This is jihad, a holy war against the accused enemies of Islam. Martyrs are encouraged. Violence is inevitable. How do you battle an extremist who lives to kill and is prepared to die? What Americans need to know about jihad, Afghanistan's holy war. Sunday at 8 on MSNBC.
Combat is nothing new to these pilots. America is under attack now. This time, it's personal.
Are you telling me that I should go out and buy a gas mask?
Why do so many people in the Middle East hate Americans so much? Abdul Wahab is now safely back at home in Pakistan. He is an Afghan man who was supposed to fly on September the 11th. But a bizarre series of coincidences led to his arrest. He was taken to a police station and told eventually he shared the same name with one of Osama bin Laden's deputies. Not only the same name, but also the same birthday. So imagine for a moment being led into a police station on the in the very same week where the World Trade Center is still smoldering with so many dead police officers. And imagine for a moment the fear that Abdul Wahab may have had when he saw for the first time how those officers were looking at him.
When I saw the reaction of these policemen, just by their eyes, I saw that they are very dangerous for me. They are looking very seriously to me. When they asked me to sitting on the chair, when I sitting there, they put some, shackles in my feet. Beside my hand was in back of me. They put also that shield in my feet. And that time I thought, what's happened on me? Why they are doing this? I become, lost my mind. Why they are doing this on me? But I thought, no, there's something which happened, the incident which happened in New York, and because I have a beard, and also my passport is Afghani passport, this is the reason.
Your name, Abdul Wahab.
Yes.
You share this name with a deputy of Osama bin Laden, and you share a birthday.
I don't know this, but I know this, that my name is very dangerous for I know that for Americans, because when the policeman checked in New Jersey my passport, I think they found the same problem with my name.
Did they treat you well?
They, from the morning 8 o'clock, they didn't talk to me until 4 o'clock. And they didn't touch me. Just they keep me in an office with tight feet and tight hands.
And then the FBI came.
And then after 4 o'clock, the FBI men came and they opened my hands and my feet, and the FBI man started their interview with me. And after that, they found it that I am not guilty. I am not the one that they are thinking about.
Because he is from Saudi Arabia and you are from Kabul.
I'm from Afghanistan.
This must have been a big relief to you.
Yes. And then the FBI man did apologize and told me that, you know, why this policeman did this. I told him, don't worry, I'm not upset about this. I am very happy from all of you because you cleared this case as soon as you could.
Abdul Wahab says he fears that if he were caught in Afghanistan the very same way, it would be months, perhaps even more than a year that he'd be in detention. He also says he most certainly would have suffered at the hands of his captors if it were in his country, and he says he is grateful to the FBI for the way he was treated. Because of his perspective, Abdul Wahab told me that while he was in America, he cried openly for the victims of the World Trade Center disaster and the Pentagon disaster as well. He watched a lot of images on television while in America. He also endured his own experiences with the police there. And then he returned home here to Pakistan and watched as the attacks began on his neighboring home, Afghanistan. I asked him with this perspective how he felt about the war on terror.
This is not a humanitarian war. This is not an activity that humans should do this kind of work. These humans should not kill each other. In this 21st century, every person educated, they should solve these problems by talking, by discussion. The people who are killing now in Afghanistan because of bombing, they are sleeping and the bombs are coming. You know, I rejected any kind of activity like this. I like peace. I like peace in the world.
Abdul Wahab speaking to us from the Afghan Media Resource Center located in Peshawar, close to the Afghan border. I asked him if he'd ever return home. He said, we would all like to return home if the conditions make it so. That's all from Islamabad, Pakistan. I'm Ashley Banfield reporting. Stay tuned now as MSNBC continues its coverage of this war on terror. Lester Holt coming up next with America on Alert.
Tomorrow, they rush toward danger at the World Trade Center in your neighborhood. They're heroes, but what about their safety? NBC Nightly News tomorrow.
Great. Credit card bill. Wonder what's in here this time.
Look at these fees!
One rate for purchases? A higher rate for cash advances? And those telemarketers!
Relax. We switched to Capital One's new no-hassle card.
Capital One.
Introducing Capital One's new no-hassle Platinum Card. No balance transfer fees and no telemarketing, plus one low fixed rate on everything from purchases to cash advances. Check your mailbox today and get Capital One's new no-hassle Platinum Card for one low rate and none of the hassle.
Honey? You okay?
What's in your wallet?
Can the costly lessons learned 8 years ago in Somalia help us fight terrorism now? MSNBC investigates. Task Force Ranger, tomorrow at 10, only on MSNBC.
We could have called it Backstage Pass at newsweek.msnbc.com, or your sneak peek at a bestseller, or the money-saving travel tips nobody else has, or even get the inside scoop on the latest Hollywood blockbuster right from the mouth of your favorite director at newsweek.msnbc.com. But with so much happening on your weekends, and with Newsweek's top entertainment and lifestyle reporters coming up with so much exclusive stuff, we really only had one clear choice. The Weekend Guide at newsweek.msnbc.com. Your weekend starts here.
Tomorrow on Business Center, a rare interview with financier and philanthropist George Soros on what's ahead for the U.S. economy, Wall Street, and his plan to aid suffering global markets. Tomorrow on CNBC Business Center at 6 p.m. Eastern.
A look at our weather map for the next 24 hours shows that the weather will remain fairly quiet across the southern part of the country as well as most of the west coast. However, the weather is going to be very unsettled in the northern plains as well as over toward the northeast. A place like Chicago is going to have frequent delays with some showers and strong thunderstorms during the day on Wednesday. However, New York City should not have any delays. In fact, there it's going to be very warm during the day on Wednesday, temperatures near record.
there's no question that evildoers are continuing to try to harm America and Americans.
Anthrax is discovered in a mail facility that serves the White House. Meanwhile, 2 postal workers are dead from bacteria, and 3 more are fighting for their lives. Why were they told to stay at work? Plus, U.S. forces come under fire in Pakistan. I'm Chris Matthews, and this is a special edition of Hardball. 2 Washington postal workers are dead, and tonight the confirmed cause of death is anthrax. 2 more are in critical condition, battling inhalation anthrax, and another New Jersey worker is also believed to be fighting the potentially deadly disease. This after postal workers were told to stay on the job, not wear protective clothing, and not take antibiotics, even after anthrax-laced letters arrived in Florida, New York, and Washington, and the Congress had evacuated. Tonight, we'll ask D.C. Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton why House staffers were lined up for testing while the CDC told postmen they had nothing to worry about. And we'll get the latest on the anthrax discovered at a White House mail facility. Late this afternoon, President Bush had this to say about the campaign of bioterror.
We don't have any hard evidence, but there's no question that anybody who would mail anthrax with the attempt to harm American citizens is a terrorist. And there's no question that Al-Qaeda is a terrorist organization, so it wouldn't put it past me that they're, it wouldn't surprise me that they're involved with it.
And while no link between bioterror and Al-Qaeda has been established, there is progress in the investigation into what happened on September 11th. At a press conference with the German Interior Ministry, Attorney General John Ashcroft discussed arrest warrants that have been issued for 3 men, now international fugitives, who may have helped mastermind the hijacking attacks. We'll ask the Washington Post's Bob Woodward what we really know about Al-Qaeda cells around the world and what he discovered about the CIA's new orders and what the government is doing to protect Americans. And in Pakistan, U.S. forces are under fire. That's right, Pakistan, our ally, where troops are stationed to support the war in Afghanistan. 2 helicopters attempting to retrieve the wreckage of another copter that crashed Friday night were shot at by unknown assailants. Meantime, American warplanes continue to bombard Taliban positions around Kabul, softening them for a potential assault by the encroaching Northern Alliance. We'll ask Northern Alliance spokesman Haroon Amin when his group will move on the Afghan capital. And we'll ask former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak if his country is headed for war with the Palestinians. We begin tonight with NBC White House correspondent David Gregory. David?
Chris, let's begin tonight with the latest from here. The Secret Service saying tonight that a very small amount of anthrax, too small even to make anybody sick, was detected at that remote facility that is where all the White House mail comes, several miles away from this complex. Now, investigators stressed tonight that so far no one has shown any symptoms for exposure, and anthrax has not been detected at the White House itself.
Late today, the president goes out of his way to calm the country's nerves, saying he does not have anthrax and believes the White House is still safe, even as he warns the public that terrorists are using the mail to hurt Americans.
The object of terrorism is to try to force us to change our way of life, is to force us to retreat, is to force us to be what we're not, and they're going to fail. They're simply going to fail.
It's too soon to say whether any single letter or package was infected, but all White House mails travels through Washington's Brentwood Postal Facility, where officials say anthrax contamination led to the death of 2 workers. Investigators now question whether the infected letter at the Brentwood facility may have contaminated a piece of mail that later traveled through the White House facility. And while the White House has since September 11th implemented stepped-up security procedures to screen all mail that comes in, officials say they are taking no chances.
All employees at this site are being swabbed and tested. Mailroom employees at the White House will also be swabbed and tested.
Today, the administration faced tough questions about why the government waited so long to test postal workers in Washington after an anthrax-laced letter was discovered at the Capitol. As soon as a threat could be determined to those workers, the government acted, officials said. But today, the president authorized $175 million to implement new safety protocols around the country.
This is what's necessary to assure the post office employees that they will be as safe as possible.
Now tonight, even as the White House and the president himself urges the country to remain calm, business as usual here has certainly been interrupted. All the mail coming into the White House has been cut off for now, so that at that military installation where the mail comes for the testing and decontamination, can go on. Chris?
Let me ask you, David, is the White House, are the people working in the White House worried personally about the threat of anthrax? Do you sense that?
I don't sense as much of that. I mean, obviously, there's a stepped-up alert. People feel that, but everybody